Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon and Ascendant, mid-month for July. It's going to be shorter than the main monthly reads because it just covers that 2-week period from the 15th to the 31st of July. So to that end, I'm just going to pull 3 cards for your current energy, 3 cards for what's coming towards you, and 3 cards of advice. See if we can't ease the way for you just a little bit. I want to say thank you to all those people who turned up for my first anniversary live stream on Sunday last week. It was wonderful to see so many of you turning out to to celebrate something that I felt like celebrating because I thought it was kind of cool. So yeah, that was wonderful. 6 hours long. I was really flagging for the last hour. I don't know if you noticed, but yes, I'm very grateful nonetheless. Also, thank you and welcome aboard to those wonderful people who have joined me over at Patreon and also on the channel memberships, which are now open below. Your support means the world to me. You know how much I love you. I tell you all the time. So thank you so very much. It is appreciated. So let's have a look and see what's going on for you, Sagittarius. 3 cards for your current energy. Yes, is the answer. They just went bop, bop, bop. Right. This is interesting. We have got in somewhat of a departure from your energy of late. We've got the 9 of Swords, the 5 of Wands, and the High Priestess. Now, this is very intriguing to me. We've got the Star at the bottom of the deck, which talks about, well, strictly, it's sometimes called the wish card, right? It's about kind of wishing on a star, potentially. But I see it as something slightly different because for me, it talks about faith and trust and connection because you can wish on a star or you can follow a guiding star. And for me, what that is actually saying is that, you know, you saw this big celestial body in the sky and your gut did something, right? And you trusted that your connection to this big thing up there was such that it would take you where you needed to go, right? So you are following your gut on a lot of things now, Saggy, in a way that you weren't able to before, which is really, really important. We've got the 6 of Wands directly underneath that, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles there, right? So that makes this current energy seem really quite strange. The 9 of Swords talks about mental disquiet of any sort, right? It's worrying about things. Specifically, what it is you seem to be worrying about is some sort of conflict. Now, I'm going to pull some extra cards for this because this seems so entirely at odds with what we've seen for Sagittarius that I am slightly confused by it. Right, the 9 of Swords. Oh, are you joking me? The 9 of Swords is clarified by the 9 of Swords. Okay, can I have something else for the 9 of Swords? The Magician. Okay. And why is the 5 of Wands here? Right, that's the second 5 we've got there. You are at the bottom of the deck now as the Knight of Wands, followed by the Tower. So, something is obviously bothering you, Sadie. Not just once, but twice, right? Now, this can be, it can indicate everything from feeling a little bit miserable to, you know, clinical depression and everything in between. But often the way that I look at this card is, if I were to ask you, you know, should you wake up in the middle of the night when you're lying there, what would be the thing that would be on your mind, right? Because that's usually 9 of Swords energy. It's that thing. Something's playing on your mind. Now, when I asked what it was that was playing on your mind, we got the Magician. It seems like you're feeling the strain about changes that you may want to make to your, you know, 3D existence right here, right? The Magician is the card of manifestation, right? It's about about turning your will into something in front of you that you can perceive, right? Now he's got dominion over all of the elements. We've got, you know, pentacles, wands, swords and cups on this table, and he combines it with his will, with his determination to provide it in front of him. Now there's something, it feels like it's not happening fast enough for you, Saggy. Maybe that's the thing. Or maybe, maybe, and this is seemingly more likely now I'm looking at it, what you are actually concerned about is something that you have manifested towards you. Because we've got this conflict here, this Five of Wands, and sometimes that can be petty arguments, but sometimes it can be, you know, really quite serious fallings out, clarified by the Ace of Cups and the Five of Swords. More five energy. Now the fives, described by Aquarian Insight, she was a tarot reader on YouTube, I think she's come off now, as the agents of chaos, right? They're where you build something in the four and then the five energy comes along and it just blows it up, right? Now the idea is that actually this is a process of refinement as far as I'm concerned, right? They come in and they kind of, they fuck things up because they give you an opportunity to make it better in some way. The Five of Wands is about heated conflict with people, so we're talking about, you know, tempers flaring. And then we've got this Five of Swords, which is definitely about mismatched communication. You know, this is people falling out over something. And what are you conflicted over? What are you falling out over? It's this Ace of Cups, right? It's new love, or a renewal of love for someone, something, or yourself. Now, this could be an issue of you having set boundaries for yourself that somebody else finds objectionable. And if that is the case, then I would draw your attention to that quote that I pull out all the time, which is those people that have, the only people that have issues with you erecting boundaries are the ones that benefited from you having none in the first place. And that should be a shibboleth for, you know, the people that you want to have in your life. If they have an issue with you putting up healthy boundaries, then should they even be in your life in the first place? The answer is probably not, right? But maybe it is, you know, new love for something or someone else. Let me pull one more card. Can you tell me about the Ace of Cups, please? Right, we've got a card of Leo here in strength. So this could either be a new relationship with a Leo, or it could be back to this boundaries issue, because respect for yourself, erection of your own boundaries, and newfound love of yourself will also result instantaneously in spiritual growth. And that's what I always see when I see this card here, right? This is surviving difficult circumstances, adverse circumstances, and coming out the other end changed, right? So I could see it going either way. You'll have to take it as it applies to you. The final card in your current energy is the High Priestess. Now this is a very spiritual card, and it talks about the internal world. But just as the, you know, the Hermit, I was going to say, and there he is. The Hermit talks about sort of, you know, being very still and allowing the answers to come in, right? Or even going into a period of kind of introspection, looking for answers. The High Priestess is a bit more mystical, right? It's a connection to something higher than yourself. Yeah. She can sometimes talk about things that are hidden, but she's the holder of all knowledge, right? The other thing that she is, and I always like to bring this out, is because on a standard, in the standard deck, right, she's sitting between two pillars, and they're marked B and J, and it stands for Boaz and Yehim or something like that. I think it's Hebrew, right? But that is the end and the beginning. So this is a card of transition, right? It's occupying that transitional space, and maybe part of the issue here is that you're not fully yet in your new start, but you are tying up loose ends with old things, right? Tell me about this High Priestess. What's this High Priestess here? We've got the Wheel of Fortune has flipped, and the Hanged Man in reverse. Right, which talks to me about really fucking knowing something, actually. what have we got at the bottom of the deck? Yeah, see, we've got the Six of Swords at the bottom of the deck, which talks about moving away from difficult situations, right? We've already got the Five of Swords out here. So maybe in the past you would have engaged with this, right? Employed that Sagittarian blunt instrument that is sometimes your opinion on things, right? But I don't see you doing that. I see you walking away, and I see that being actually the smart thing to do, because we've got the Justice card underpinning that there, right? And flat non-engagement, just move away. It's not for you, right? But the cards that have come out to clarify the High Priestess are another two, which is the Two of Pentacles, the Hanged Man in reverse, and the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is a card I associate with Sagittarius anyway, because it's ruled by Jupiter, right? And it appears, yes, when your fortunes are going to improve in some way. And, you know, that's a thing. But I don't believe that that happens just, you know, because of shits and giggles, right? It doesn't just drop into your lap. It's a direct consequence of having done some work on yourself, aligned your energy, you're bringing good things towards you, right? So you have done that. We've got this Magician energy here. You've pulled something towards yourself. Notice how all of the 4 fixed signs that are depicted on there, which is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, they're all reading books, right? They're all in the process of the acquisition of knowledge. In order, one would hope that at some point they will be able to apply that knowledge, which would then make it wisdom, right? So it's then, for me, a teaching moment. This teaching moment for you is about balancing yourself, right, where you might have previously lost your shit or acted in some way that was contrary to your best interests. And then we've got this Hanged Man in reverse. Now, this way around, it's a willing submission to a different way of seeing things, right, in order to gain wisdom, just like we saw with the Wheel of Fortune there. When it's this way around, I don't feel like you're struggling against it or anything like that. I feel like you've attained that wisdom now, right? Look at him, he's all illuminated there, right? It's coming out of that energy. It's having hung around and considered things for long enough, and it's almost like it's catching up with you, like somebody's got an issue with it and it is now catching up with you in some regard. But what it is that you have learned is exactly what it is that you know to be true, right? And I feel like this Nine of Swords energy is more about people catching up with where you have been for a little while and then having to deal with the fallout of it. That's how it feels to me. So let's have a look and see what's coming towards you. It's coming towards Sagittarius for the last 2 weeks. Okay, so we have got the Two of Wands, we've got the Seven of Wands, and we've got the Ten of Swords. Now, believe it or not, I'm actually really happy to see the Ten of Swords here for you, and I'll get into why in a second. But it seems like you're hitting a bit of a crossroads. Here we are with the crossroads. In the last 2 weeks of July, we've also got some defensive energy here. Is it defensive? Is it protective? Is it guarded? I have to pull some more cards and find out. Because there are nuanced differences between all of those things. Shall I put the lights on? Put the lights on, it's getting a bit dark now. Okay. So, tell me about this Two of Wands, please. Ooh, we've got the Death card just flipped there, that's exciting. Tell me about this Two of Wands. We've got the Nine of Pentacles, the Death card and the Justice card flipped while I was shuffling, which is really, really interesting because that's major arcana energy. They talk about, well, they talk about karmic contracts, and you know, in the case of the Justice card, and things being paid off and all that kind of thing, like equilibrium being restored, which is something that apparently you need to do, or you have some work to do on, but just a little bit, because we haven't had the Justice card. We've just had the really lowest version of it appear here. And the Death card talks about transformation of some description. Tell me about the Two of Wands, please. We've got the Ten of Wands and the King of Cups. We've got the Sun at the bottom of the deck. That's another Leo card again, with Cancer directly underneath it. And, you know, I love to talk about this being the conscious and the non-conscious, right? They seem to be like equal and exact opposites to me. It's duality, it's more balance, right? It's your internal state and your external state being in alignment in some way. But the cards that have come out to clarify the crossroads are the Nine of Pentacles, the Ten of Wands, and the King of Cups. And this seems to be speaking to you kind of having the courage of your convictions, Satu, actually. Because we've got the Nine of Pentacles, which talks about self-sufficiency and independence, right? It talks about you doing really, right, making really good strides with your material environment, right? Your bills are paid, you've got money left over for nice things. Like, everything's just sort of taking care of itself, right? In that way that it does. Once you get to a certain position, right, you don't have to count every penny. You just need to keep, you know, keep a balance with it. And everything's just right there. But then we've got this card here, which talks about burden of some description. Note that it is a 10, and that's important because 10s signify completion, right? Whatever it is that has been difficult for you, it is reaching its end. Off the back of this crossroads moment, right? It feels like it's all kind of pulling towards a point here. This conflict that we were talking about at the beginning, like Five of Wands and the Five of Swords, right? That's a 10 together. But this is altogether a better 10 because it's the end rather than halfway through. This is why it feels like somebody else is kind of catching up to where you are with something. And then we've got the King of Cups, right? Which is a very active emotional place. It talks about the mastery of one's own emotions, right? Not getting washed away by it, but certainly just being able to navigate those comfortably. I say it's active because the Queen of Cups is the receptive version of it. The King of Cups is how you express that externally, right? So then we've got this Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands. We've got the Queen of Swords. Right, the Death card is at the bottom of the deck now, right? It's the Shadow card here. And we've got a whole heap of cards down here to clarify the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands, like I said, defensive, guarded energy, potentially, or protective energy of you or someone else or circumstances, right? You have to take it as it resonates to you. But we've got this Queen of Swords, followed by the Three of Wands, the Page of Wands, and the Knight of Swords. And yeah, this honestly reads like somebody else making a situation worse. Because these two cards, these two Wands cards in the middle feel like collateral damage, because this here, which is a card of Gemini, Knight of Swords, is somebody rushing towards the Queen to give her some information, right? Now have a look at these two cards together, right? Queen's beckoning, the Knight is galloping in to give some news about something, right? What's stuck in between the two of them is the Page of Wands, which is a card I associate with Sagittarius, even though it doesn't have a strict correspondence, right? There. And then this Three of Wands here, which is about the changes that you are trying to action in your life, right? Where the two, this crossroads is here, where you're kind of making decisions about things. This is where you're trying to actively make them happen. This is about, you know, getting excited about making these things happen. This is a card of manifestation for me, by the way. But it looks like we have potentially got somebody here who wants information from you. And I feel like this is whoever you're having a conflict with over here. And somebody else kind of galloping in to give them the emotion, give them the information, trampling over you, right, in the process. And this is why I feel like you are going to be in a slightly defensive position here. Because it's like you're just trying to move on. You're just trying to go forwards with something, right? It could well be an air sign. So Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. But it doesn't have to be. It just has to be somebody who has the I've forgotten the word. What's the word I'm after? The qualities, then, say, of a Queen of Swords. So this would be somebody who's very no-nonsense, probably quite cutting at times, very smart, very switched on, you know, kind of smell a lie at 50 paces, that kind of person. This person's gunning for you for some reason. You feel very defensive about it, right? And I see somebody else kind of rushing in to trample over your capacity to start your new thing, whatever it is, in order to bring this information to her. Now, the very last card is the Ten of Swords, and I said that I liked this for you, and I like it for this reason, because it's a movement from the 9, right? Where the 9, and I didn't mention this, but I probably should, but I've got this kind of arbitrary rule where swords up are good, swords down are bad. And notice that these cards are horizontally placed across the card here, which to my mind then makes them fairly neutral, right? So if they're neutral, why is this person clutching their head and kind of looking anguished and stuff? It's because it's a matter of perception, right? Perhaps you are perceiving the possibility of these ructions happening, right? Okay. So what's coming towards you in July is an end, right? We've got a movement away from the 9 and we're up at the 10, right? Yes, doesn't look terribly comfortable there, but it is an end to everything that is difficult, right? We also have death at the bottom of the deck, which also talks about an end. Inherent within an ending is a beginning, and I say this all the time, but this is big, right? This is clearing out old stuff, and it seems like this little showdown that you're worried about, that looks like it's been brewing in your head about whatever it is that you've manifested towards yourself. It looks like it might come, if I'm honest. So we've got 2 10s there. We've got the 10 of Wands and the 10 of Swords, and this is a good thing, right? This is hands down a good thing, because it feels like it is pulling all the loose ends together, right? You've flown out of the deck there. We've got the 6 of Pentacles. That talks about balance, equilibrium, something that is thematically quite important for you in this reading. And that 10 of Swords. And the Knight of Cups. Yeah, see, we've got the Moon and the Knight of Cups. It feels like we just... There we go, slid it up a bit. It feels like you are concerned about something coming out that you've manifested towards you. And the thing is, it is going to come out, right? The hidden thing, because we've got this hidden approach that we've got here, and this is active. This feels like it's you going towards somebody else, right? But actually, it evens everything out, right? It's not something to be worried about. It's a natural consequence of... It's not even a natural consequence. Like it feels like it was something that was always going to happen, and maybe you're worrying about it more than you did before. But ultimately, just like kind of let it come in, let it do its thing, so that it might end, right? It's better to draw this out into the light and give it an opportunity to finish than to continue worrying about it, because that's going to affect your overall happiness and your enjoyment of whatever it is that you brought towards you. So let's get some cards of advice. Some advice for Sagittarius. Well, apparently you're not allowed to have any. How funny. Well, there's the King of Wands at the bottom of the deck. That's more Leo energy, believe it or not. That's incredible. So the card that I thought was going to come out was the Hierophant, because I saw it when I was shuffling and no cards came out. I was like, oh, I wonder if you're going to come out. Shuffled again. Here it comes. So the first card of advice you've got is the 5 of Pentacles. Now this talks about isolation and abandonment and feeling left out, right? It's more 5 energy. And it's quite intriguing that it should be here. And it's possible to see this in the way of advice as to, you know, be mindful of the fact that perhaps your activities have left somebody else feeling this way, abandoned, left out, you know, all this sort of thing. That's possible. And actually, the more I look at it, it seems like the most likely thing. Or perhaps, you know, when all of this comes out, you know, you're kind of going to be shoved to the side, but and it will make you feel a little bit like this, but, you know, ultimately this is kind of the consequences of what you manifested, because I feel like this is the other person, the one that's got an issue with you, the one that you're fighting with, right? They're going to kind of shun you a little bit. That's possible, right? And we've got the Justice card here, which talks about balance, again, thematically very important for you in this reading. But it talks about doing the right thing, right? It talks about karma, it talks about justice, it talks about everything kind of leveling out as it's supposed to. Now, the interesting thing is it's come out with the Hierophant, and sometimes when you read these two cards together, that can speak about divorce. Maybe this is an ex that you're dealing with here, you know, who's kind of found out about a new relationship or something like that, right? This seems likely. We've got this card here, which is another Libra card, just like the Queen of Swords is down there. And we've got Taurus here, so you may be dealing with one of those signs too. But it kind of feels like it's supposed to be... Whenever I see the Justice card, I always think that everything is unraveling exactly as it should, right? Everything is happening exactly as it was planned to do. And so the best thing to do with this is to just ride the wave. Don't try and hide things. Don't try and... don't try and avoid the final showdown that is obviously scripted to occur at some point here, right? By Justice, by the Ten of Swords, or this kind of thing. Like, you know it's coming because you're fucking worrying about it already. The last card is the Three of Pentacles. It actually flew out together with the Hierophant. And I feel like it's saying, like, it's in your best interest to work with this person, right? They're going to attack you. They're going to make you feel, you know, X, Y, Z. They're going to make you feel some kind of way. But ultimately, there's the trying to kind of... What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't feel like it's in your best interests to be blunt at this person, right? They've got a perspective, they've got a viewpoint, whether or not you think it's right. For some reason, it's important that you continue working together, right? So keep that front and foremost in your mind when you are dealing with this situation. I don't know how I ended up pulling so many cards. That's quite bonkers. So I'm going to leave it there. If it resonated with you, I'd love it if you mentioned something down below, all that sort of thing. But failing that, well, take care, and I will see you in a couple of weeks for the August monthlies. Dear God, right. See you later.